I think especially as Aboriginal artists, our truth is what makes us who we are in our culture and our spirituality. And that truth resonates into the community.
Mob or judge them, that's tomorrow's children, because all we do is for them really. And if they can get these words, get the pronunciation of it correct, they can then start using it in daily life, and they do.
It's relationships between mothers and fathers, between parents and children, between children and their grandparents. It's that deterioration of that family relationship and connection.
Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people can now stand with huge humility and be very proud of who we are and what we are, and the way in which we have survived.
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Boundary Road. I'm Fred Leone.
And I'm Mundanara Bales. We have many Indigenous leading ladies within our community. A lot of them are well known, like Jessica Mauboy and Kathy Freeman, just to name a few. But there are so many more of our mob that are making a difference and go unnoticed.
But not anymore. Amanda Heyman is a digital program officer with Queensland State Library, and she teaches community how to use digital devices to capture their own story. Welcome to the show, Amanda.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. So Amanda, can you tell us who your mob is and where you grew up?
Well, I grew up in Logan, and my grandma was born on Perga Mission, so she was, family has moved around a lot, but yeah, I grew up in Logan.
It's a bit about your story. How did you get into digital how did you become the digital program coordinator?
Well, I was really interested in visual arts when I was going to high school, so I've studied contemporary art at Griffith University down the coast, and then from there I kind of experimented with digital media. I was doing some video art classes, some net art classes, and really got into like Photoshop and that kind of stuff. I did a short contract work for the State Library doing a little animation when it first opened 7 years ago, and that led into full-time employment.
Yeah, cool. What department is that you work in?
I work for Coral Dargan, the Indigenous section of the State Library of Queensland.
Yeah, deadly.
It is. It's a great place to be, looking at all those different exhibitions that come through.
Yeah, it's beautiful on level 1, just down the back.
So what programs are you working on at the moment?
At the moment I've got 2 main programs. So I do Deadly Stories, which is a project that helps teach community the skills to make their own deadly story, which is capturing stories about local heroes. So we go out there and teach them how to use cameras and audio recording equipment.
Yeah, deadly.
And the other program or the project you're working on?
The other main project I'm working on is Telling Country, and that's working with young people. I've got a kit of iPads that I take out, and we show them how to use a range of different apps to capture their stories.
And what age group do you kind of target with that Telling Country?
Telling Country, I work with anyone from 5 to 16.
Wow.
Yeah, just depends on what communities that we work with.
Hey, so Amanda, what communities have you been specifically working with, and were there any problems in gaining access to those communities in terms of community protocols?
Yeah, Telling Country, I work with 4 different communities this year. I work with Stradbroke Island, which is a lovely coastal community. I work with Logan, which is like an urban community, and I've got access through my own personal connections. I work with Warrabinda, which is central, and Wujal, which is north. But
up in the Cape.
Beautiful rainforest country.
Yeah, that's cold water band country.
Yeah. With each of the communities, we have a consultation process, so we take a lot of time getting to know organisations and individuals within that community before we go out and work with them. So I haven't really had any problems with, trying to access people in the community.
And what are some of the highlights so far with that program, Telling Country?
So some of the highlights, There's so many. There's some beautiful stories coming out with the Telling Country workshops. We've got like nice sea creature stories from Stratty. We've got some dreaming stories from Logan that aren't really shared a lot. They're not very well known because it's such an urban community, but the kids just love it. You know, they're using the iPads. It's so natural to them, you know.
They pick it up real quick, don't they?
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges that you've had to face working in this environment or in this program?
There hasn't been many challenges. I've been partnering with either organisations, or we have a network of Indigenous knowledge centres associated with the State Library. So we usually work through them or through the public libraries or local Indigenous organisations. So it's been really successful, and I haven't really had any problems so far.
Yeah, cool.
That's pretty good then.
Yeah.
That all comes back to good preparation, I suppose, and, you know, community consultation.
We have a good lead-in time. Yeah.
And saying that, working with children, has it always been one of your passions to work with children?
Yeah, I reckon I'll be like a school teacher one day, but we've always had like family with little ones around, so growing up you kind of get used to them. Everyone says I'm really patient.
Yeah.
Do you see technology playing a big part in how stories are told in the future?
Definitely. I think the State Library and other collecting institutions around Australia have a lot of stories that were collected from a white person's perspective, and I think it's really exciting that we can capture our own stories and from our own perspective. So digital means is really accessible, it's easy, you can do it in 5 minutes, you know. And learning these skills from when you're young, you can only get better.
And what do you do with these stories once, you know, they've been, finalised or finished?
Yeah, well, I've been working on animations with the Telling Country exhibition, and they're in an exhibition at the library at the moment. So it's called Our Dreaming, and it's on all throughout the library actually. So yeah, it's a big one.
What have you been finding has there been a common thread throughout the stories being told in different communities, or is it geographically specific, or is there just an overall undertone to the stories coming out of each community?
There's been some nice similarities, like we had a couple of kids really want to focus on their football, so that's something that is really, everywhere. Everyone loves football, but there are very significant things. Like I've learned about the scrub hen from Wujal and how the women hunt the eggs. And Warrabinda, we had like a porky hunting story, so how they hunt the echidna. So they're all quite different communities, and we made that specifically.
And what do you personally want or hope for the kids to achieve by participating in these workshops?
I think they're really proud of what they make, hey. We get them to sit down with elders as well as their family and talk about stories from their local community. So they learn from people around them, as well as they kind of reiterate that story in their own kind of language through their own eyes. So it's really lovely to see that family are involved as well. And we have like the dads coming in and showing us what they've worked on since the last time I seen them.
Wow.
And I get emails of videos that they've been working on since I've seen them last, so that's really beautiful.
On that note, thanks so much, Amanda, for coming in and sharing with us the great work that you're doing in the community and with the State Library of Queensland. And it's so important that you keep on doing the work you're doing with sharing those stories.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming in.
No worries, thank you.